What a ride the 2015 playoffs were. The last junior hockey days of phenom Connor McDavid took the Erie Otters and their star-studded lineup to the Ontario Hockey League Finals, where they fell just short of the ultimate prize. Now, there was a lot to be proud of with a second consecutive 50-win season and the capturing of the Wayne Gretzky Trophy as the Western Conference champs, but the goal is winning, and the Erie Otters would have to wait until the 2016-2017 season and the dawn of a new age in the Erie Otters franchise as they departed on their 20th anniversary season. The 2015 offseason had its ups and downs, but after the dust settled in the courthouse, Erie welcomed a new owner to their beloved Otters. Jim Waters, the former president of Chum Limited, fulfilled his lifelong dream of owning a hockey team when he purchased the Erie Otters on July 17th. Mr. Waters quickly put to rest all the rumors of the Otters franchise moving as he committed to the city of Erie and completed the look of his team's staff. Jim brought in longtime NHL executive Roy Malacher to serve as the Otters' chief operating officer. Malacher, a Cleveland native, moved from the West Coast to settle in Erie as a full-time member of the front office staff. He brought his wealth of sports business knowledge to the team after having served as vice president at the Los Angeles Kings, COO of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and most recently CEO and alternate governor with the Ottawa Senators. An executive team was forged, but the hockey side needed shoring up. The team was left without a general manager, and the executive side made the no-brainer decision to hire Dave Brown as the team's next GM. Brown had served as the Otters' director of hockey operations the previous 4 seasons, and his stamp could be seen on the team since joining Erie in 2010. He previously served as general manager of the Ice Dogs franchise that relocated from Mississauga to St. Catharines. He and his scouting staff had developed a young and talented roster set to take on the challenge of following up a conference championship season. There would be many key holes that would need to be filled after losing 3 overage defensemen. Offensive contributors like Remy Ellie and Nick Baptiste, and who could forget Connor McDavid. What may have gone unnoticed with those high-profile names leaving was the departure of assistant coach Jay McKee, who left for a similar position with the Kitchener Rangers. Chris Knobloch was once again looking for a defensive assistant. In stepped B.J. Adams to guide the blue line and penalty kill. Adams held the same position previously at the collegiate level at Canisius College from 2009 to 2014. While in the college ranks, Adam helped the Griffs win the 2013 Atlantic Hockey Championship. After a long postseason that took Erie into late spring, there isn't much of an offseason for the team as September quickly caught up to the group, starting with training camp. Junior hockey experts, if you can call them that, penciled in the Otters fighting for their playoff lives in 2015-2016, thinking the team would struggle with life after McDavid. Boy, were they wrong. Despite missing the key pieces of a championship run, the coaching staff inherited a young squad eager to prove the naysayers wrong. There was no doubt inside the locker room that this group could continue down the path of the previous 2 seasons. The leadership had been through it all, starting with alternate captain Nick Betts, who has seen the best and the worst of the Otters. Entering his 5th season, the overager wasn't giving up on the season despite what critics had said. Jake Marchment made an impact on the locker room from the day he was acquired from Belleville at the 2015 trade deadline. In just his 2nd year with the Otters, he would don an A on his chest as well. Darren Radish would round out the letters, serving as an alternate captain. The 4th-year Otter has been underrated much of his career, but he was taking over the blue line with the departure of Troy Dene, Corey Genovese, and Curtis McDermott. Despite starting the season off with one of the youngest teams in the league, the Otters would make the headlines on the road to start. Opening night of the OHL season, the Otters made their way into the Windsor Family Credit Union Center to take on the Spitfires. The back-and-forth tilt eventually found Erie trailing 3-2 late in the game. Erie would pull their goaltender for the extra attacker and would find the back of the net to tie it up at 3 when Taylor Radish netted his first of the year. This would send the game into overtime, historical, with it being the first OHL game to go 3-on-3 overtime in the regular season. With the open ice, the teams traded rushes. It's key to have defenders who can jump into the play with this much ice, and Darren Radish did just that, pouncing on a puck to knock it past the Windsor goalie for the first ever 3-on-3 overtime game-winning goal in OHL regular season history. Keep that one in your noggin for your next Barstool Trivia opportunity. That was just the first of another hot start to the season for a Chris Knobloch-coached Otter squad. And like previous years, things got even hotter during the month of October. It started on the 1st of the month at the Meridian Center with the Otters visiting the Ice Dogs. That night, the reigning CHL Rookie of the Year, Alex DeBrincat, had some kind of magic brewing that the Otters had never seen before. The sharpshooting sophomore kicked it into high gear, scoring 5 goals in a 6-1 victory over Niagara, the only player to complete that feat during the regular season in Erie Otters history. NHL scouts were now drooling over the draft-eligible forward. After starting 4-0, the top team in the OHL got some great news coming from the desert in Arizona. The Arizona Coyotes announced that they were sending the 3rd overall pick of the 2015 NHL Draft back to Erie for another year of junior hockey. Dylan Strome, the CHL's top scorer from a year ago, was coming back to Erie with unfinished business on his mind. There was no better time to announce the next captain for the 20th season in Erie Otters hockey. Dylan Strome sweaters would now feature the C for the 2015-2016 season. The team continued to roll, winning 13 of their first 15 games. The CHL took notice, and the Otters shot up the rankings. The team that wasn't going anywhere without McDavid was all of a sudden at the top of the CHL rankings as the #1 team in all 3 leagues. Good times continued to roll as the Otters received commitment from their first-round pick in the CHL import draft. Eric Cernak, a second-round pick of the LA Kings in 2015, was coming to Erie. The big and skilled blue liner helped round out the Otters' young defense corps that featured 3 rookies in Mitch Byrne, Taylor Egan, and Jordan Sandbrook, with veterans Darren Radish, Travis Dermott, and TJ Fergus logging heavy minutes. The knock on Erie was the need to trade for a defenseman, but GM Dave Brown and the Otters got theirs without having to send away any assets. The fall also marks the beginning of international play for the lucky few selected to represent their countries. This season, the Otters not only had a player at the World Under-17 Hockey Challenge, but a coach in Chris Knobloch. The Otters bench boss guided his Canada Red squad, which featured Erie 3rd-round pick in 2015 Brett Newman, to the top of his pool with an undefeated record. Unfortunately, Canada Red fell in the medal round, but this won't be the last time Hockey Canada makes a call to Chris Knobloch. As World Junior time came, Erie found 5 of their full-time players departing for international tournaments. The first was Jacob Meyenschein, Erie's second-round selection in the CHL import draft. The German-born forward would compete in Vienna, Austria at the Division I Group A World Junior Championships, where he tied to lead the Germans in scoring at the tournament. 4 other Otters made their way to the main tournament in Helsinki, Finland. The tournament would open up with Alex DeBrincat and Team USA taking on Dylan Strome, Travis Dermott, and the rest of Team Canada. The game didn't go the way DeBrincat wanted, but his Team USA mates would bail him out after a late penalty in the first as USA edged Canada 4-2. Travis Dermott would help set up Dylan Strome for Canada's second goal, but it just wasn't enough. Strome would finish tied for tops in scoring amongst Canadian skaters as he and fellow Otter Dermott would fall to eventual gold medal-winning Finland in the elimination rounds. Eric Cernak represented Slovakia for a 3rd straight year. After winning bronze a year earlier, Slovakia fell short of their ultimate goal. DeBrincat had a rough go in Finland after getting injured in a scary collision against Sweden, but returned in the tournament as Team USA would take the bronze medal game 8-3 over Sweden. Back in Erie, the Otters were holding down the fort with much credit to goaltender Devin Williams. The overage netminder would find himself on pace for a record-setting season. First came the Otters' record for career wins, previously held by Josh Disher. Williams backstopped Erie to a 7-3 win in Owen Sound to etch his name in Otters history with his 73rd career win. But he was only getting started on his record-breaking season. He would join elite company as only the 5th goaltender in OHL history to record 100 career wins when he helped the Otters defeat the Kitchener Rangers on February 21st in a shootout. Win number 100 marked Williams as the only American-born player to hit the century mark. For his last trick, Devin would shatter the Otters' previous single-season record for wins by a goaltender. His 37th victory of the season would surpass Ramis Sadikov in the Erie history book, as Williams would finish the season with 41 victories. The Erie netminder wasn't the only player setting new Otter milestones. After a career year in his sophomore campaign, Dylan Strome had the opportunity to make Otters history in 2016. The Star Center set the Otters' regular season points record with 129 last season, and on March 11th, the Otters captain hit the 100-point plateau once again. Strome figured in on each Otters goal that night at the Sleeman Center as his 4-point night in Guelph awarded Dylan the title of first player in team history to record 2 100-point seasons in his career. Less than a week later, it was Alex DeBrincat's turn at the Otters history book. After a sensational first season in the league, capturing Rookie of the Year awards from the OHL and CHL, The gritty goal scorer would repeat his offensive efforts. On March 17th, DeBrincat did what he does best, find the back of the net for his 50th goal of the campaign. The only Otter to ever score 50 goals in back-to-back seasons. He wasn't done there, as he kept NHL scouts drooling when he joined his line mate Dylan Strome as the second player to record multiple 100-point seasons as an Erie Otter on the last night of the regular season in a memorable 4-2 victory over the London Knights. That March 19th night marked the 299th regular season game for five-year forward Nick Betts, the second most games played in franchise history. As we all know, the game of hockey is a team sport, and the 2015-2016 Erie Otters surpassed all outside expectations as the team matched and surpassed multiple Erie accomplishments. With the early season hot streak, the Otters found themselves comfortable on the road, to say the least. From opening night in Windsor on September 24th through November 21st in Saginaw, Erie did not drop a single game on the road. That 10-game stretch was the longest road winning streak in team history. The chemistry on the road continued throughout the season, with the Otters taking over the other team's buildings, winning 27 games away from the Erie Insurance Arena. A new team record, surpassing last year's record number by 4. On March 12th at the Erie Insurance Arena, the team found themselves with a chance to make Ontario Hockey League history, entering the night with 49 wins on the year. Despite trailing after 2 periods, the Otters used a 4-goal third to power their way past the Guelph Storm for a season series sweep and their 50th win on the season. That marked the first time in the history of the league that a team recorded 50 wins in 3 consecutive seasons. Altogether, the Erie Otters won 52 games on the campaign, matching the franchise record set in 2013-2014. Out of every game the Otters won, number 52 may have been the most electric and entertaining of them all. To set the scene, it was the final night of the regular season. The rival London Knights were storming into Erie on a 9-game winning streak. The Otters were tied with them in the standings, and the winner of this final game would not only be crowned as the Midwest Division champs, but as the OHL's regular season champion, clinching the number 1 seed and home ice in the playoffs. The near-capacity crowd at the Erie Insurance Arena knew that the stakes were high, especially after Erie lost the previous night. The game would get underway, and the Otters would find special teams being the key that Saturday night. A delay of game penalty would send Erie to the power play midway through the first. As time was ticking down, a shot through traffic would find its way through, deflect off a stick, and Taylor Radish would have the Otters on the board with the opening tally. London would tie early in the second period, but Erie had more to give on this third game on a third straight night. The Strome, DeBrincat, Radish line was at it again, and their pretty passing play would have Erie in the lead once again. As a young team, the Otters have had a group of rookies thrown into big situations only to see them respond admirably. Late in the second period, it was the Otters' 2015 first-round pick that added some insurance. Ivan Lodnia displayed his precision with the puck as he sniped his 16th of the season on the power play for a 3-1 lead. London wasn't going to give up in the third as they came within 1 on a power play goal of their own. The clock was all that mattered now, with Erie defending a 1-goal lead against the league's best offensive team. In a display of unselfishness, grit, and heart, the Otters imposed their defensive will and eventually set up Nick Betts for the empty netter to seal the deal 4-2. The Erie Otters were the OHL's Hamilton Spectator Trophy winner as the league's regular season champions, the first time since 2001. For a third consecutive season, the Otters were hosting their first-round opponent as the Saginaw Spirit made their way to Erie. The Otters have had previous playoff success against their American rival, defeating the Spirit in 5 games 2 seasons ago. This Otters squad would only need 4 games to advance. The series opened with the Otters showing their experience from the past 2 postseasons. The Otters knew how to win in the playoffs, and they showed it in games 1 and 2 of their Western Conference quarterfinal series, outscoring the Spirit 12-4 in those games. Erie was dominant in their efforts, owning puck possession and controlling all 3 zones on home ice. It was an impressive 2 wins that had Erie flying out of the gate in the postseason. The series would shift to the Dow Event Center in Saginaw, Michigan, and the Otters would continue where they left off in Erie, jumping out to a 4-2 lead in the first, thanks to Christian Gurney, Taylor Radish, Alex DeBrincat, and Kyle Maximovich. The second period is where near disaster struck. About 5 minutes into the second period, there was an awkward collision with Devin Williams near his net behind the play. The Otters' OA goalie was in major pain as he exited the game. It was now up to 2014 second-round pick rookie Jake Lord to guard the Erie cage. He did just that in his OHL playoffs debut, turning aside 11 of 12 shots as the Otters took the game 6-3 and a commanding 3-0 lead in the series. The Otters would be without Devin Williams for Game 4 as Jake Lohr would make his first playoff start. All cylinders were firing from puck drop as the Otters jumped out to a 4-0 lead in the first 20 minutes and 37 seconds of gameplay. Erie was looking towards the second round. Saginaw, however, had other ideas as they were able to claw their way back into the game in a do-or-die situation. The captain, Dylan Strome, found another gear late as he would tally what would become the game-winning power play goal with nearly 5 minutes to play in the second period. Strome would also end the Saginaw comeback bid with the empty netter at the end of the period. The Otters swept the Saginaw Spirit in 4 games, giving them a sweep in each of their last postseason runs. It was on to the second round, where a rather familiar playoff foe would stun the OHL's West Division champions, as Erie and Sault Ste. Marie were once again pitted against one another in the OHL's postseason for a third straight year. The number 7 seed Sioux Greyhounds caused a major stir when they upset the Sarnia Sting in 7 games. That team was extremely confident as the underdog as they traveled to Erie for the start of the Western Conference semifinals. They managed to keep up their world-beater mentality as they escaped the first period with a 2-1 lead in Game 1 of the series. The Otters could have packed it in then, but this proud team was about to give the crowd a show. The first game of the regular season, Darren Radish played hero, and he was about to reprise that role. Time was running out in regulation with the Otters still down a goal. As the Greyhounds attempted to clear the puck, Radish made a leaping snag to keep the puck in the zone. He then settled the puck and snapped a shot through traffic to tie the game at 2, sending it to overtime. In sudden death, number 24 had a little more magic left up his sleeve. Radish joined the offensive zone late and found a break down the slot after receiving a pass from Dylan Strome. The Otters veteran defender had lots of room to walk in and fire the puck past Brandon Halverson for the game-winning tally. The Otters got back to their game the next night in Game 2 after the Sioux nearly snuck away with one. Erie slowed down the Sioux's opportunities and Devin Williams was back from his injury scare to shut the door. The Otters were finally able to crack Halverson in the second period, much to the EIA crowd's delight. Nick Betts would open the scoring with Dylan Strome notching his 5th midway through the second frame. A power play goal in the third brought the Greyhounds within 1, but the Otters' defense closed the gate, only allowing 4 shots on goal in the final period. Another Strome empty net goal didn't hurt, as it was off to Sioux for Games 3 and 4. The Greyhounds got on the series board with a 3-2 victory in Game 3. The Otters used some late heroics to tie that one in the third, but a late goal propelled the Sioux to within a game of tying the series. It seemed as if the Otters were done playing around with the Greyhounds as they put on their best performance of the series in Game 4 for the Esser Center crowd. Within the first 8 minutes of the game, the Otters hopped out to a 2-goal lead with Alex DeBrincat and Jake Marchment scoring. The team kept pouring it on as the Otters fired 45 shots on goal that night, and the floodgates opened up in the third as Darren Radish, Nick Betts, and Travis Dermott scored to send the Otters back to Erie with a 5-2 Game 4 victory and a chance to close out the Greyhounds on home ice. With the Sioux on the brink of elimination, it was time to strike and avoid another long bus trip. The DeBrincat, Strome, Radish line took this one into their own hands, accounting for all 5 of the Otters' goals on the evening. DeBrincat opened up the scoring in the first, as Strome notched his first of the night on a power play nearly 5 minutes into the second period. Although the game was tied, there was still a little time left for Taylor Radish to notch his power play goal with 25 seconds remaining in the second period. 20 minutes separated the Otters from winning Game 5 and advancing to the Western Conference Finals for the 3rd consecutive season. Again, the defensive effort would come into the scene as Erie held the Sioux to just 2 shots on goal in the final period of the game. The captain, Strome, would finish off the playoff game hat trick with a pair of tallies before it was all said and done, as the Otters would eliminate the Greyhounds for the 3rd straight postseason. It was yet another conference finals berth for the Erie Otters. The season would fall just around short as the London Knights would eliminate the Otters in the conference final series, the 3rd straight year Erie fell to the eventual OHL champion. But there's a lot to be proud of for the 2015-2016 Erie Otters, especially for a team that was told they couldn't compete after overachieving the past 2 seasons. This special group will remember the records they set and will always be remembered as the first OHL team to string together a 3rd consecutive 50-win season. For the Erie Otters franchise, they will once again welcome NHL-caliber players to their roster as the team's player development track record proves to be a talent pool that the professionals pick from. The 2016 NHL entry draft saw Alex DeBrincat selected by the Chicago Blackhawks, Taylor Radish picked up by the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Jordan Sambrook drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. The second consecutive year, the Erie Otters saw 3 of their players drafted into the National Hockey League. The annual change into the guard will commence as Erie says goodbye to overage players with Nick Betts, Jake Marchment, and Devin Williams. Last year's rookies will have an even more expanded role next season as they enter their second campaigns with the team. We'll have to wait for training camp in August to see what next year's roster will hold, but rest assured that what was one of the youngest teams in the league will come back as a veteran group with long playoff runs under their belts and an even stronger desire to win. The Erie Otters 2015-2016 Vinnie Scott Award for Determination winner, Darren Radish. The Erie Otters 2015-2016 Most Valuable Player Award winner, Devin Williams. The Erie Otters 2015-2016 Leading Scorer and Outstanding Playoff Performance Award winner, Dylan Strome. The Erie Otters 2015-2016 Rookie of the Year and Scholastic Player of the Year Award winner, Jordan Sambrook. The Erie Otters 2015-2016 Most Improved Player Award winner, Kyle Maximovich. The Erie Otters 2015-2016 Steve Nemagon Humanitarian Award winner, Patrick Fellows. The Erie Otters 2015-2016 Most Sportsmanlike Player Award winner, Taylor Radish. The Erie Otters 2015-2016 Best Defenseman Award winner, Travis Dermott. The Erie Otters 2015-2016 Iron Workers Local Union No. 3 3-Star Selection Award winner, Alex DeBrincat.